started. We're on session 3 of communication, and let's pray. Those of you guys that are standing in line, stop what you're doing for a minute so we can pray. Otherwise, your food's not blessed and you probably get sick. Anyway. Father, we just come before you this morning, Lord. We're just thankful for this day, thankful to celebrate mothers, Lord, and we're just here to learn. So we just pray that you would just do a work in each and every one of us, that you would just help me deliver this lesson, Lord, and that everyone would walk away with some knowledge that they didn't have before. Lord, for your glory and for your honor, in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, so today we're talking about Communication 101, and yes, I am sitting down. So if you have a problem with that, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm tired today. So Communication 101, learning to use basic communication skills. Basic, the most basic of communication skills, is going to enhance your understanding in your relationship. Well, you say, how is that so? Well, because communication makes all the difference in the world of being able to make your relationship better. Okay? I know that you may have a hard time understanding that, but today we're going to take a look at the most basic part of pursuing understanding in the relationship, and that's the components of communication. Sometimes just uttering words doesn't mean communication is taking place. Let me just repeat that again for those of you that are standing in the back and probably not paying attention. Just throwing the word, and I'm not specifically saying to anybody in particular, Jim, but just speaking, talking words doesn't necessarily mean that you're having communication. Communication goes on a deeper level. If you really want to have solid communication, if you want to have deep communication with understanding to happen, there's 3 components that have to take place. Okay? The first one is expressing. You have to learn how to be able to express yourself. Remember what I say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So expressing yourself in a positive way, as opposed to a negative way, is going to determine the course of the conversation. The second component is listening. Okay? A lot of people have a tendency when they communicate with somebody, they're one-track minded, they are already down a path of where this conversation is going to go, and so we have a hard time listening. And it's only fair in a communication when you're talking about 2 people in a relationship that each has an opportunity and a time to talk. And when one person is talking, the other person should be what? Listening. But what happens is this. You're hearing, but you're not listening. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, because you're listening to what you're hearing what they say, but you're already figuring out what you're going to say back. Instead of actually listening and being able to absorb what the other person is saying. Especially guys. Women, we know, you come to us and you start talking to us about something, we're already figuring out the problem, how to solve it, what to do, and a lot of times you don't even necessarily want us to solve the problem, you just want to vent or communicate or talk. But as men, we're trying to solve the problem. And so we've already told you, ladies, when it comes to having communication with your man, let him know up front, I just want to vent. Or, I need your help solving this problem. That's going to make all the difference in the world. Okay? Every time. All right? So, you have to be a listener and not just a hearer. And then the last component is responding. How you respond to the other person when they express yourself. Again, how you respond is either going to make it or break it in the communication, because if you react, and you react with emotion, then you are not responding in the best possible way, which is communicating negative vibes. If you look at your worksheet, it starts off with Proverbs 16:16. It says, how much better to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding is to be chosen rather than silver. Proverbs 24:3 says, through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. So wisdom is something that we can all improve on. You know, we got smarts, but there's a difference between smarts and wisdom. Wisdom will tell you, you better not say that in the way that you're thinking of saying that. Okay? That's wisdom. And then being able to shut your mouth and not say that so that it doesn't get taken out of context or it doesn't get said the wrong way, as opposed to, I'm just going to roll with it because it's always easier to say I'm sorry than it is to ask for permission. But that's not the attitude that you should take in the relationship. You got to think about it. We know that the tongue is a two-edged sword. The tongue can bring life, and the tongue can bring death. We can cut somebody down really, really quick with our tongues. Yep. How we talk to somebody, what we say. And you know, when you are close to somebody, the things that you say, you know how to get to that person better than anybody else. You know exactly what to say in order to hurt that person and bring them to their knees or feel like they got kidney punched because you know exactly how to hurt them. So you got to think about those things and be able to use wisdom and say, you know what, here's the deal. When two people are together, you have to assume that they love each other, right? I mean, that's the assumption, right? You love each other, that's why you're together. So you have two good-willed people that really wouldn't intentionally hurt the other person on purpose, right? I mean, if you do that, you're just mean and cruel and, you know. So you have two good-willed people that don't really want to hurt each other. So if and when someone says something like that, you have to take it as, well, I know they probably don't mean that. They're saying it in anger. But at the same time, don't take advantage of that person having grace and being able to use it all the time because that stuff gets old. And then you start thinking about, yeah, I forgive it, and now it's to the point where it's like, no, that ain't happening. You know, I've expressed to you so many times how that bothers me. Can you talk to me in the right way, or with respect, or with love, or whatever the case may be, and express your concerns? And when you can have a conversation like that, then you're really communicating, and then it's not taken so much out of context. Then it's not every time you go to your husband or your man and you say, hey, can we talk? He doesn't roll his eyes and feel like it's a death sentence. Because you know how they react. It's like, oh, we need to talk. Right? The first thing we think about is, oh God, what did I do now? You know, what did I do now? It's like, no, I just want to talk. But how do you want to talk? So hey, can we talk? You know? And then watch how you talk. Watch how the attitude that you speak with. Watch your tone. Watch your body language. Because, man, you can throw off a whole lot without saying anything. I don't mean that directed at women or men. It's both of you. Because both of us have the ability to do that. So question number 1 says, why do you think understanding is important to a good marriage relationship? Why is it? I know it's a simple question, but why is it so important to a good marriage? Understanding. Yes, Mr. Gonzalez.
Understanding feelings and needs.
Okay. Understanding feelings and needs. Yes, Mr. Ward.
So you both have the same goals and objects in life, that you know what you want to work towards and what you want together and from each other.
Okay. What else? Yes.
If you don't have understanding of each other, it's going to be one crazy household.
That's true. You know, and that's the thing. Yes. Okay. And the thing is that you have to understand where the other person is coming from. If you don't understand, then how many times do you guys take it as, like, women will say something to their men on a regular basis. Someone call it nagging. Okay? Don't laugh, it's Mother's Day. But the thing is that maybe it's not nagging if you have an understanding of why they keep saying that. You know, and of course it depends on what it is. It's like, okay, I'm tired of you using your sleeve as a napkin in public. Okay, well that's a legitimate thing to keep telling your husband not to do. Okay, but obviously understanding why she's saying that so often. And again, let's go back and flip it the other way. It doesn't necessarily have to be the woman, but understanding why your man gets upset every time you do something, okay, truly understanding it, makes a whole lot of difference instead of having the attitude like, man, they're just nagging, or they're just such a jerk, and they're constantly in a bad mood, and why do I always rub them the wrong way? Well, let's try to understand why, you know? I mean, I tell people when they come to me and they say, you know, they're constantly mad at me, and you want to diffuse the situation. The best way to diffuse the situation is this, and some of you are going to go, yeah, that really works. But try it. You know, the next time that things get heated, you go to the other person and you go, look, I'm sorry that, you know, this turned out to be the way that it did. I'm not about fighting, you know, I love you, you know, I care about you. So tell me what it is that made you so upset so I can try not to do it again. How do you argue with that? Oh, no, you want me to what? Oh, you want me to tell you what, you actually want me to communicate with you what made me upset instead of just getting upset. You can't argue with that. The other person's actually coming to you and going, okay, tell me what it is that got you so upset so I can try not to do it again. Can anybody argue with that? So I'm telling you, if you try it, it's going to diffuse the situation. So let's talk about that first component again, expressing. When we say something to someone, we want that person to understand what we're saying and feeling. We want to be understood, right? Guys, why can't you get it when the women say it to you? So in order for that, so what happens is we need to express ourselves clearly. And remember that we are using an incredibly powerful tool, the tongue. Now, for those of you that haven't been coming for a long time, we did a series about love and respect. Love is the most key thing that a woman needs. Respect is the most key thing that a man needs. If a man doesn't feel respected, he doesn't feel like putting out love, making his woman feel like love. I didn't mean putting out.
We know where your mind
If a woman does not feel loved, then I'll change the terminology. She does not feel like making her man feel respected. And so when he doesn't feel respected, she doesn't feel loved, she doesn't feel loved, he doesn't feel respected, and then we all know that that's called the crazy cycle. So what happens is that we want to be understood, and the thing is that men communicate one way and women communicate another way. And even though we've learned this, and for those of you that have gone through love and respect, and some of you have gone and seen love and respect, we still have a tendency to forget that men are blue and women are pink. We hear in blue, we think in blue, we speak in blue. And women hear in pink and think in pink and speak in pink. And sometimes a guy can, I mean, come on guys, let's be real. How many times have you said something to your wife goes sideways and you go, but that's not what I meant. How many times, guys?
All the time.
Okay?
All the time.
Don't say all the time. All is strong. Most of the time. It's hard because women hear it completely differently. And so you can't even try to explain, once it's gone to that point, once they've interpreted it a certain way, it's kind of hard to go backwards and be able to say, no, that's not what I meant, let me explain. Oh, too late. Too late. Here, talk to this right here. Talk to this. Okay? And so, guys, we need to take that into consideration when we do try to communicate with them. And it's like, well, okay, so if we speak two different languages, then how is it that we learn how to speak? Well, you know what, guys? The same way that you learn Spanish or French or Italian or Pygmy Latin or whatever it is that you learn, you have to learn the language of the other person. And so, you know, women, you know how to get your man to do exactly what you want him to do when you communicate it in the way that he understands. Oh, I know. You think you're all sly. But come on, you know. I know you guys are master manipulators. You could, no. I'm telling you. Let's just call a spade, okay? I know none of you want to admit it in public, but man, you guys know how to work it better than anybody else. Okay? You say no, but when I say that, I'm having fun with the words, but the bottom line is You know how to communicate to your husband. You know exactly how to get him to do what you want him to do when you communicate the right way. Okay? Yeah, see? I heard some in the back. Okay? So it's just a matter of what you put into it. James 3:3-12 says this. Indeed, we put bits in horses' mouths and they have to obey us. We turn their whole body. Look also at ships. Although they are so large and are driven by fierce winds, they're turned by a very small rudder wherever the pilot desires. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasts great things. See how great a forest a little fire kindles. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body and sets on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird, of reptile and creature of the sea is tamed and has been tamed by mankind. But no man, everybody say no man.
No man.
And that includes woman. Okay? No man or woman can tame the tongue. It's an unruly, evil, full of deadly poison. With it we bless our God and our Father, and with it we curse men who've been made in the similitude of God. And out of the same mouth proceed blessings and cursings. My brethren, these things ought not to be so. Does a spring send forth fresh water and bitter from the same opening? The answer is no. Can a fig tree, my brethren, bear olives, or a grapevine bear figs? Thus no spring yields both salt water and fresh. Which is true. Okay? So, according to that scripture that we just looked at, what's dangerous about the tongue?
The ability to lie.
The ability to lie. What else? Words. What else?
It has the ability to destroy.
To destroy, to kill. We talked about that. The tongue is a powerful thing. So is there a criticism or a cruel comment that you remember from years ago? How many of you would say, yes, I can remember saying something cruel to my spouse? Okay? Those of you that didn't put up your hand, you're lying.
I don't remember what
You
I
just
said.
don't want to put it up. You may not remember, but you know that it's happened. The bottom line is, how did it affect you? I don't think any of you can say it affected me in a positive way. I remember that one tongue lashing I gave my spouse. I felt great afterwards. Our relationship grew from that. Well, maybe it did, maybe a part, but it grew. You know, the bottom line is, if you don't have a mutual respect for each other, you need to get that back. Okay? You cannot have a relationship without respecting one another. And there needs to be boundaries. I know there's going to be disagreements. I know there's going to be arguments. There is no marriage that is perfect out there. You will have problems, but it's how you deal with those problems that's going to determine how your relationship works in the long run. So, you have to make a decision and make boundaries when things are in a good time. Listen, when this comes up, here's the ground rules. No cussing at each other. No, let's try to be as patient with each other as we can. And you got to remember, you know, guys, here's the thing. If there is real enemies out there, there's a real enemy out there that wants nothing more than to destroy your relationship. The one, because when you're not a part, when you're coming to a class like this, you are messing with the enemy. And he don't like it, so what's he going to do? He's going to try to bring division so that you wake up on Sunday morning and go, I'm not going to that marriage class. It's a waste of time. I can sleep in. I look so much better after I get extra sleep. You know? You can come up with every reason in the world why you don't want to do this. But the bottom line is that you're doing something to keep the enemy under your feet. And you have to remember that the enemy's going to come in. And sometimes you've got to take a step back from a disagreement or an argument. And you got to say, oh, wait a second. You know, there's no way we're going to let the enemy come in between us right now. Let's just take a step back. And I know that we've done reflection before, and you think back and you go, think about the arguments that you've had in the last week. How many of them were absolutely petty stupid? And you're going to say the majority of them. What did you argue over? The stupidest of stuff.
I don't know.
You know, or yeah, it's like, what was that arguing about? I don't even know what we were arguing about, right? I don't know. Your wife won't know. It's because that one thing, that thing, So, but you try, you got to remember, you got to set boundaries. Listen, you guys are on the same team. You're not against each other.
Yep.
And you got to remember that. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is apologize, but someone's always got to apologize, right, wrong, or indifferent. You want to be right or you want to be happy? I want to be right and happy. All right. As Dr. Phil would say, let me know how that's working for you. Somebody's always got to take the higher road. You want to stand your ground until the other person says, I'm sorry? Are you that prideful? Well, they need to acknowledge they're wrong. I'm sure you made them very aware of the fact that they're wrong. You notice I'm leaving gender out because it goes both ways. I know I'm talking to people out there. You have to just get to the point where you can say, it's not all about me. Anyone who's been coming for a long time, you know that I will tell you that 99.5% of all your problems in your relationship are due to two things: pride and selfishness. You're too proud to say you're sorry. You're too selfish to say you're sorry. You're too prideful to recognize that you got a problem and you need to fix it. I don't have a problem. Oh, that's why your spouse is always mad at you. Good job. Okay. Some of us have problems that we need to fix. Some of you talk with attitude. Some of you, some of you act like attitude. Some of you are completely selfish towards the other person. It's all about you. But it's not all about you. And I will tell you again that if you put the other person first, it's really hard for that person not to put you first. Don't make it about you. Don't make it about but I don't get it. I thought I deserve so much. Let's see, that goes back to that pride thing. You deserve. You got married. You became one. It wasn't, I do until I don't anymore. You guys, we have a generation of people that have this entitlement attitude. I deserve to be happy. I deserve this. I deserve that. And then that's why people just pick up and leave. I'm going to go find somebody who makes me happy. You're going to find somebody that got some other kind of problem, and you're going to be dealing with that come down the road. You might as well deal with the person that you at least know for a while, and you can train them a little bit, okay? Instead of going out and looking for somebody else that you got to train all over again. Most people nowadays, they get married once, been married 20 years, say, man, because my wife's told me, she goes, if you die, I'm done. I will not get married again because I have finally gotten to the point where I got you trained. And I just said, but I kind of feel the same way. It's like, man, I couldn't even think about it. Man, if my wife died, I wouldn't even want to. Hell no. Not just no, hell no. It's hard to be married. It's a lot of work. And that's me talking. I'm the guy that leads the class. You think I'm any different than you? No. I'm still trying to learn from the same stuff you're trying to learn from. Okay? It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Man, I don't want to grow old by myself. I want to be able to depend on my wife to rub my feet when I'm tired. She ain't there yet, but I still got time. So, with that said, guys, I just don't want to see people give up. It's like that people give up for just too easy a reason. I'm tired of it. No. Man, you want to show the kind of woman that you are, you want to show the kind of man that you are, work at your relationship. Don't work at finding a way to get rid of your relationship. Find a way to make it work. Because you married that person for a reason. You started having sex with them for a reason. Oh, see, I got real quiet in there. So you gotta go back. Sometimes you gotta go back to those basics. and remember, you know, why it was that you were so attractive. But they changed, and so did you.
Right.
You know, they're so different now. And we talk about that, you know, that little laugh that was so cute, and now it drives you up the wall. You know? Oh my God, I can't stand it. She does that one more time. Well, that was a hug. She's just really skinny. The way that he used to breathe on you when you slept next to each other, now you can't stand it. Right? You grab the pillow every night, just waiting. If he doesn't turn over this time, in the next minute or so, I will smother him. I will. God, forgive me. I know you know what I'm talking about. Those are just the joys of marriage. Okay? All right, let's move on. Going back to that scripture again, what was good about the tongue? What's good about the tongue? Good comment.
It can praise.
Praise. Uplift.
The ability to speak passionately.
The ability to speak passionately. Don't even raise your hand, because I know with you, the question, what is good about the tongue? I don't want to hear your answer. I don't want to hear about your answer. But I know where you were going, Frank. I know that was there. So, for those of you that don't know Frank, leave it that way. There's always one. What is the danger of not expressing ourselves openly and clearly? What's the dangers? Frustrations. Build up till you explode.
You're not building a relationship.
You're not building a relationship. How many of you know of that terminology of sweeping it under the carpet? Right? How many of you have done that before? See, here's the thing, guys. When I ask you to raise your hand about something, it's not for me to get glory and go, it's that I want you to see the other people that are raising their hands, because a lot of you come here and you think, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. We're the only man. Everybody in this place goes through most of all the same things that you do. Some of us are gone through them, some of us are going through them, and some of y'all are getting ready to go through it. So knowing that there's other people that go through it or have gone through it or whatever the case may be, it's not that it's misery loves company. It's kind of taking the fact that, oh, we're not so jacked up. No more jacked up than any one of us are. We're all going to have problems. It's just working through them to get done. Clear communication involves deliberate expression. Okay? You cannot have clear communication without expressing yourself deliberately. And to express ourselves in a way that our spouse understands us, we need to talk openly about what we think or what we feel and what we need in that particular situation that we're discussing. Does that make sense? So when you have a conversation, you get frustrated about something, keep in mind this, and if you have your notes, man, you should be underlining or highlighting or put a post-it note on your forehead or something that lets you know you need to talk openly, you need to express what you think, you need to express what you feel, and you need to express what you need in that situation. Those are key elements in order to try to make the situation go farther. The second component is listening. Okay? Not just hearing, but listening. When one person talks, the other person needs to be, or that person needs to be in the spotlight. Okay? Everything that you're paying attention to relies on that person. When they're talking, the world stops. Man, if you're listening to your spouse say something, and you're texting, or you're on the phone, or you're watching TV, and you're kind of glancing and going like this as they're, don't do that. Doesn't that other person deserve enough of your attention that you can stop doing what you're doing and be able to focus on that other person? Just the fact that if you were doing something, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're the kind of person, I know there's people in here, so it's like, okay, I don't want to do that. let's say that you're a person that fly fishes and you're in the garage tying your own flies, right? You make your own flies. Your wife comes into the garage and says, look, I really need to talk to you about something. Okay, are you the person that says, okay, I should be in about 20 minutes? Or are you the person that says, yeah, go ahead, what do you want to talk about? Or are you the person that drops everything and says, okay, honey, let's go sit down and talk? Don't answer the question. I don't need to know where you're at. I'm just telling you out of those three choices, I know where you should be. You know? The same thing goes for you, ladies. And I know you can turn around and you can say, well, I don't have time to talk right now. The kids are this, and the laundry's this, and the dinner's this, and this. And you know, you got your own things going on, and you could, but if your man's coming to you and telling you, first of all, guys don't usually do that, right? So if your man really does come to you and says, hey, we need to talk about something, you better know that that's important. Okay? If they can bring themselves to that point, and give that other person the respect that they deserve. And when they want to talk about something, make it that way. Each person needs a time of freedom so that they can express themselves fully without interruption and without feedback. Unfortunately, the person who's listening wants to grab that spotlight back and short-circuit the communication process. And when there's two or more people that are constantly fighting for the spotlight, caring about only expressing themselves, communication breaks down. And that goes right back to selfishness. It's not about what you feel, it's about what I feel. Your feelings are negated by what I feel because I'm more important. And you should. I like it when it gets quiet like that because you're on a light. And don't be nudging your spouse when I'm talking about it. You know? It's like, that's you. Are you listening? Are you listening? Don't do that. Unless you're joking around, but don't do that because, man, you're going to leave here and you're going to be ticked off. You know? It's not about pointing out the other person's, faults. It's about figuring out what can work for you and making it and go forward from there. We need to take turns with our spouse being in the spotlight. And when it's your turn, spend about 5 minutes talking to them about a problem that you're currently experiencing outside of your relationship. The problem could be at work or at home or with a kid or with a neighbor or with a family member or a church member. Tell your spouse what you feel and what you think about the situation and what you need from them. And how many of you say that would be hard for me? Okay? So there's a few of you that would be hard. I don't want to get into why, but I want you to be able to get to the point where you can say that. You do need to be able to go to your spouse and say, look, I need to talk to you about that. And if you have a hard time communicating about the things in your relationship, then start with the easy stuff. Start with the kids or start with somebody outside of the household, and then work your way into, okay, now let's talk about the relationship. James 1:19 says, there's qualities that are needed in trials. He says, so then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. What does that mean? I mean, that's a really short, okay, so let's see, what is James saying? James saying, everyone be quick to listen. Okay? Be a good listener. If you did well in school, it was because you did what? You listened. Or you stole the answers from somebody else, one or the other. Be a good listener. And don't be so quick to get your words out. Because that's how we are, especially when we have a disagreement going, right? It's like the other one person's expressing themselves, but you can't wait to express yourself because like I'm justifying what I'm saying or what I'm doing or whatever the case may be. And so you can't be that quick to speak. And slow to wrath means you better slow your roll and not get so angry so fast. Why are you getting so angry so fast? That's the person that you love, that you committed to be with for the rest of your life. Well, if they only knew how bad they ticked me off. I say that I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Some of you don't like it, and that's too bad because I have the microphone. When you have a microphone, you can say what you want. You only get so mad because you allow them to get you so mad.
Yep.
Okay? If you made a decision that that's not going to get me mad, you know, let's say that, God forbid, 1,000,000 times, you marry somebody, and all of a sudden, one of them winds up having Tourette's. Now, if you don't know what Tourette's is one of those diseases where people cuss violently, and they really don't mean to. I mean, I know it's like you can laugh about it, and they've used it in comedy movies before and everything, but it's a real disease. And so let's say before the diagnosis even came, that your spouse started talking to you and cussing at you and calling you all these names, but then you found out the diagnosis, and it can't be cured, or maybe it can be reduced a little bit, but they come out with these comments. Would you take it personally if they said those things? Oh no, they just have a disease, right? So it's like, you could almost laugh at it. It's like, oh honey, stop calling me such a, can you use another word, or, something like that. You kind of find a way to divert the anger because you have an understanding that it's not really something that's in their control. All right? How many of you get what I'm saying? Raise your hand. Awesome. Because now I'm going to drop a bomb on you. Okay? And this just came to me. So, all of you have been diagnosed with a disease. It's called sin.
Yep.
You're not perfect. Okay? And you live in a fallen world. So you're going to say stuff that you don't mean to say. And you're going to do stuff that you don't mean to do. This is good. Okay? And yeah, boom. Okay? That's like sonic boom. You need to understand that that other person is not a perfect person. And unfortunately, as a sinner, they don't mean to hurt you. And don't take it personally. You know how when you were a kid, how many of you grew up at one point getting so angry at your parents that you said, I hate you? I hate you, I hate you, I wish you would die, I wish you would die. Who says that? Can you imagine if you were an adult walking around going, oh my God, Pastor Allan, I hate you, I wish you would die? Right? I'd be like, what? But kids say that because they don't have any control and they say things that they don't mean. And if you hear that from your kid, you're not going to go run into a corner and go, oh my God, my kid hates me and wants me to die. Right? You're not going to do that. You have an understanding. It's like they don't really understand what they're saying, and I don't take it personally because I love my kids unconditionally. Why can't you do that with your spouse?
Yep.
Oh, see, I need to stand now because we're rolling. Okay? Seriously, I'm telling you, that's a great attitude to have if you just... Yes.
Well, when you say something like that, though, when you're a child, it's because you're immature. You are a child. So you'll say those things, but when you get older, to me, there's no excuse.
Oh, we're still immature.
To say something back like that.
Well, no, you may not say, I hate you and I want you to die. If you do, you got a problem. Okay? But we will say other things, I love the woman that, it's like you guys have marriage problems, and then, the guy's like really legitimately trying to do the best he can, and the woman will come up and go, well, you need a better paying job, or you need to go get another job. That's the same thing as, I hate you and I want you to die.
Yeah.
Well, it got real quiet again. I'm telling you, you guys don't understand what you're saying to somebody and the way that they're hearing it. Just like you get tripped out, the guys get tripped out because guys will say something, and as soon as the guy gets done saying it, you guys are like, and the man knows already, he's already taken 2 steps back on what? What did I say? And you're like, that's not what I meant. Well, same thing goes for you women. You may say something and the guy hears it a totally different way, and you just wounded your man.
Yes.
You just cut him to his very core of everything that he stands for as a man. And then he looks at you like, how could you say that to me? It's like, what? What did I say? That's not what I meant. That's what he had heard. Wow. Man, my wife should be here today. She'd be so proud.
You're better when she's not here, though.
I am. I have more freedom. I don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
worry about
yeah.
it. 'Cause when
But
she's
at
here,
the same time, she's better when you're not here.
yeah,
So.
yeah. When she's here, I have to constantly look over and go, is that okay?
Yeah. We're watching that. She's just like,
She's going to watch it on YouTube now. She's going to go, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. All right. So if you thought about it, think about 2 or 3 people that are good listeners. Of course, they're not your spouse because you think highly of other people more than your spouse. It's like, oh my God, my BFF. Oh my God, she can listen to me for days, right? She's such a good listener, right? And you know, the guys will be like, oh, the dude's at work. It's like I can say anything and I don't get judged, and you know, and that's the worst thing that could happen. But how do you feel about spending time with those people? Well, great, because they're not your spouse and they're not judging you. They're not like analyzing every single word that comes out of your mouth, right? So you have that freedom. And so when you're on the phone with your girlfriend, it's like, oh yeah. And when the guys are with the guys can sit around and just jibber jabber and, you know, talk a lot of nonsense about really nothing, you know?
yeah.
And yet, but we feel like that's the guy thing to do. Yes.
Can I just say that I feel more comfortable telling my husband if I had a bad day or something maybe bad than telling a friend because it's not going to get out to everybody else if I tell my husband. So I'd rather sit in that, because he's a good listener, I'd rather sit and tell him and know that it's going to be confidential, I'm sorry, and it's going to stay between us.
And how many years did it take you to get there, Sonia? Okay. but the fact is that a lot of us aren't there yet. A lot of us aren't there yet. But that is the ultimate situation, is to be able to have those conversations with your spouse to where you know that there's no judgment, there's no condemnation, that you have freedom of speech with your spouse as long as it's done in a loving and respectful way. It's not going to come back to bite you in the butt. Yes?
Something else that goes right along with her, with what Sonia said, and what I have learned recently, or in the past year, is that if you call and talk to your BFF, and if her and her husband are going through it, and you fit right into that slot, next thing you know, you're having a husband bash off, or the husbands are, I don't think, husbands could be having a wife bash off, I have no idea. But then it's like, then you're like, ooh, now you have someone to back you up on everything that you're saying. That's just wrong.
That's right.
So your husband is the best one to.
And the thing is, listening is not easy to do. A lot of times we want to jump in, give our advice, fix someone's problems, but listening carefully is a key to understanding our spouse's true needs. They're going to tell you something. Listen, I learned a long time ago when I was in sales. You don't have to be a phenomenal salesman based on your spiel. You have to be a phenomenal listener, because the person that you're trying to sell will tell you exactly how to sell them if you just shut up and listen. How many of you have gone in to buy a car before and said, I can't afford payment, no more payments than more than $300 a month? How many of you have gone in and bought a car like that? You guys don't do that. You're telling the guy how much profit he can make on you. The math is the math. Did you ever know math to change? 6 minus 3 is going to be 3 no matter how you present it. Okay? Math will never change. So, I know, but, you know, I can only afford payments of this much. Yeah. Okay, well, do the math, man. $200 a month times 60 months is $12,000 with interest. Get an auto loan calculator that's free online or something like that, and you can figure out what your payments are going to be based on what your price is going to be. Don't go into the salesman and go, how long would you like to go on vacation on my money? Really? A week? People will tell you exactly what you need if you just listen. Okay? At some point in almost every conversation, you need to move beyond listening. You need to join the conversation and seek to truly understand what your spouse is saying. And you can do that by responding with appropriate feedback. You know, I tell couples that come in and counsel with me sometimes, and you know, I mean, I don't use the same thing on every couple because every situation is different, but if you come into me and you're having a communication problem, one of the things that I encourage you to do is I'll say, okay, so when your spouse explains to you what's bothering them, you need to repeat back and you go, okay, so what I'm hearing you say is, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Or, no, what I mean is. But don't you think that that kind of changes the dynamic and it gets you a clearer understanding of what's going on? You have to remember that there are a lot of inappropriate responses that we don't give to promote, that we give to promote, that we don't give, and it doesn't promote better understanding. You know, your spouse tells you how you feel. That's stupid. Okay, that'll encourage them to come back and talk to you. You know, so you have to be careful about the responses that we have. Again, love, respect, understanding are key elements. And there's appropriate types of feedback that work toward better understanding. And don't you think that appropriate feedback helps build a better environment of openness and trust in your communication? You know that the conversation is going to go it's going to go one of two ways. It's going to go bad or it's going to go good. And it's going to depend on how you respond to one another. You know, there's people that are, when you have two power struggle people, and they go head to head, and all you do is, you find yourself going to the next level, to the next level, to the next level, because when you go to the next level, it's like, oh, I can go there. Let's go there. You want to drop F-bombs? Try this one on for size. Okay? You want to insult me? Yo, mama. Okay? So, I mean, you guys can take it to those levels, and you guys can get as down and dirty as you want. But really, is that the positive thing that two mature, grown adults are going to do? No. So there's appropriate feedback. There's appropriate ways of handling your situations. And you need to pick that situation that's going to work and put them into play. One thing that your spouse needs to know is that you are committed to them. That even though there's going to be arguments, man, if you're throwing around that D word all the time, oh, well, this ain't working, we should just get a divorce. Or if you do that again, I'm going to divorce you. Or da-da-da-da. Man, I mean, then, okay, so it's cool to have your spouse walking on eggshells. How much confidence are they going to have in you when every time there's a problem, you want to run?
Amen.
I know. It's like, oh, well, he's not joking around that much today. Oh, I joke around plenty, but man, you all need to be spanked when you need to be spanked. For those of you that throw around those words, you got no one to blame except yourself. When you have inconsistency in your relationship, when you have this kind of shakiness going on, it's because you created that. You haven't said, hey, you know what, Sarah? I heard you tell Reuben, no matter what, doesn't matter what color his shoes are and his socks don't match. It doesn't matter what he said. His socks match. I'm not picking on him. It doesn't matter what he says or what he does. I'm committed to you. We are going to fix things if they ever go wrong. You know, when's the last time you told your spouse, right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever comes our way, I love you and we're going to be together forever. And nothing's going to break that apart. When's the last time you said that? You know, it's all about building that confidence and that commitment and that other person knowing that regardless of what comes your way, you're going to battle through it. Not the devil, not the kids, not the finances. Yeah, I don't care if we're homeless living in a tent. I will not leave your side. You know? Homeless living, I will leave him if I am homeless. You know? Hey, you know, I thought that, you know, when you guys were having sex, it was like, I could be happy with you anywhere except at the campground, okay? You know? Right? I mean, you know, we joke around it, but it's like, it's all good until someone gets hurt. Until things get serious. It's like, no, I said for richer or for poorer, but you didn't mean it, right? I mean, you know, we got saved to be Christians. God wouldn't let us be. Man, you can't question what happens in your life. Things are going to happen. Are you committed to your relationship? That's the question.
I think I'm not only committed to our relationship, but committed to God.
Right.
Because when we get married, you know, we make an oath to in front of Him that, and when we break the oath with our wife, we're also breaking it with God.
That's very true. And at that point, you really don't, you know, a lot of people that go through that, it's like, your relationship with God doesn't really matter at that point because it's like, it doesn't matter. So you want to listen and you want to help. And one simple feedback question that's going to communicate that desire, if you state it sincerely, is this: what do you need most from me right now? Can you imagine asking that to your spouse? What do you need most from me right now? At times, maybe your spouse is going to ask you to suggest a solution to a problem. At other times, they may just need you to listen. And your responsibility is to be sincerely interested and ready to respond with what your spouse needs. Key words: sincerely interested. Look at John 14, 16 through 17. It says, I will pray the Father, and He will give you another helper, that He may abide with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees Him nor knows Him, but you know Him, for He dwells with you and will be in you. Are there other resources out there for helping us build understanding within our marriage? Do you think?
Yeah.
Look at the Bible, man. The Bible is your answer to a lot of your stuff. It's a great manual or instruction book on how to treat your spouse, your kids, others, situations, the whole bit. Okay? Bottom line is this. The three components to basic communication are what? You can remember what they were. What was the first one? Expressing. Okay? The second one? Listening. And giving appropriate feedback. May sound simple. It's like, oh, duh. But you know what? Mastering them is a lifelong challenge. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. If you got problems, they're not going to get fixed overnight. It's something that you constantly need to work at. But like any new skill, it's kind of like, ladies, if you took up sewing, or guys, if you took up woodworking, it doesn't come overnight. It requires practice. But the most important thing is that you know that you get started and you keep at it. You have to keep at it. And the first few tries at changing your communication patterns may be less than perfect. It's not always going to go the way that you want, but keep trying. Keep working at it. And eventually the results are going to be well worth it. And well worth any initial difficulties. You know, trying new things is hard sometimes. But communication is paramount to the relationship staying strong. Questions? Comments? Anything like that? No? Okay, a couple of announcements.